Jiro here for Umbra Games with a review of Nioh, a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Researching the meaning of the word Nioh, I couldn't just settle for the Wikipedia translation, which will be the first 10 Google results either hitting Wikipedia or forums somewhere full of people that are. These sites simply translate the characters into benevolent king, which didn't really make sense within Nioh's context, as there definitely are no benevolent kings to be found in the game. You play as William Adams, loosely based on the historical first Englishman who made it to Japan on an expedition with the Dutch East India Company during what is known as a Sengoku period, or Warring States. It was at this time Oda Nobunaga attempted to unify Japan, killing any that got in his way, including women and children. Instead, if you search a little deeper, you can find that Nioh, often spelled N-I-O, are actually the angry-looking beings believed to have followed Buddha around and protected him, the statues of which are often seen at Buddhist temples, looking pretty similar to a variety of the giant yokai or demons you find in the game. Most websites seem to translate that into benevolent king as well, but it helped to get a little more context. Then again, with the game being called Oni during its stages of development, perhaps we're just looking at an anagram of that too. Nioh often either gets lumped into an action RPG genre, or it's pigeonholed as a Dark Souls clone. You face giant, difficult bosses, you have a stamina bar that every action depletes, leveling up gives you a stat point to put into anything you want with no rigid class system, and if you die you lose all the experience points, in this case Amrita, and if you can't make it back to the site of death, you'll lose everything you've gained in that life. And most importantly, you can die very easily. You start to really see the differences between the Souls series and Nioh and the level structure. Nioh being mission-based instead of open-world, and the fast-paced combat really feels more like your action-adventure type games like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, or more specifically, developer Team Ninja's previous work on the Ninja Gaiden series that was released through the years, starting on Xbox. William, also referred to as Anjin, a name given to him due to William being a difficult name for the Japanese tongue, headed to Japan in Nioh in order to follow occult alchemist Edward Kelly, who stole William's guardian spirit trapped in a stone that has the ability to lead its bearer to Amrita sources. In his journey, William gets put into the middle of a war, siding with Ieyasu Tokugawa, as Kelly is helping their opponents, led by Mitsunari Ishida, by summoning yokai and oni to aid them in battle. Most of the human troops are unable to stand against the summoned demons, but of course William can, so your aid is constantly called upon to hunt down the demon ranks. As mentioned, the game is broken up into multiple stages instead of being open world. The level maps are actually quite huge, with checkpoints in the form of Kodama shrines. If killed, you'll return to the last one at which you prayed. The level design is full of doors that open from the other side, or ladders that need to be knocked down to make shortcuts, generally in the close vicinity of a shrine, giving you easier navigation routes from checkpoints as you progress. The Kodama shrines also function as a place to spend your Amrita, gained from hitting and killing enemies or from certain consumable items, leveling you up and adding a stat point of your choice. There are two other types of missions that become available from the map, Sub and Twilight. Submissions sometimes take place in main mission maps you've finished, but also start branching into new but smaller areas, giving you an objective of killing a specific monster or monsters, or finding a specific item. These quests often have special rewards, including blueprints for items and gear you can take to the blacksmith, new guardian spirits, or various gear, equipment, or consumable items. Twilight missions are super difficult submissions, throwing tons of stronger enemies at you at a time. As you reach various thresholds and specific stats or weapon proficiencies, dojo battles will open as well, more on that in a minute. There are a decent number of enemy types in Nioh, but unfortunately most appear in every level, so while there is some diversity in the tactics you'll take, you'll continually be applying those same tactics everywhere. Every level ends with a boss fight too, and although varying greatly in size and form, pretty much have a hack-hack, dodge-dodge mechanic and little else, often taking a few to several minutes and little room for error to succeed. A few of the game's 19 main missions did some really neat things with finding specific items in the environment before you approached the end boss that made them weaker or exploited a weakness, which really would have been fun to see repeated more throughout the game. Every level that comes to mind, though, had a final path that could be easily run without encounters for the multiple attempts you'll probably have to take against a boss. Now, similar to Dark Souls and Bloodborne, you can summon friends to help in certain situations, including boss fights, but my gaming pride forced me to complete the game completely solo, sometimes frustratingly so. Now, there are 5 basic types of melee weapons that William can use: katana, dual katanas, axe, spear, and kurosama, the blade on a chain thingy. There are aesthetic variations of these, and they get their power from different stat points that you can assign. You can equip 2 weapons at a time and switch between them with R1 and right or left on the D-pad. Each weapon can also be used in 3 different stances, low, middle, and high, which affect the speed and power of an attack. each of which has an appropriate situation and can be switched quickly with R1 and a face button. One other facet of Nioh that separates it from Dark Souls is a way to quickly refill your stamina, or ki, after an attack, by using a well-timed press of R1 after a swing or combo. This constantly tugs at you to make a decision to either refill your stamina and keep attacking, or using that split second to roll out of the way of incoming danger. Blocking is way more effective in this game than any other Souls games I've played, which was refreshing, and added another defensive strategy layer. A decent ki bar would often absorb all damage from the strike, and if you kept your level up high enough, you'd still have enough to move and react quickly afterwards. All of these individual aspects add up to a fairly complex strategy, requiring split-second decisions to keep you alive. There are 3 categories of ranged weapons at your disposal too: bow and arrow, rifle, or hand cannon, each having 2 different types of ammo. Ranged weapons require aiming, so it's not something you can just readily use when locked into combat, as much as a way to knock out some pesky archers or riflemen perched in annoying places, or getting the jump on an enemy you'll finish off in close combat. You can equip 2 ranged weapons at a time, using R1 and up and down on the D-pad. I realize all this switching of weapon and stances with R1 can sound a little overwhelming, but there's really a curve that allows you to start to pick this up on your own, adding new pieces as you get comfortable. In other words, you can succeed in most situations without doing the constant changes, but you'll succeed more quickly when you learn to mix in these concepts. William has 5 armor slots for head, chest, hands, legs, and feet, and here's a point where the game really shines, in the sheer number of armor designs and choices, giving you tons of options in varying styles and weights. Your overall armor weight will determine how quickly you can move and react, as well as how quickly your ki meter fills. All weapons and armor come in different rarities: white, yellow, blue, and purple, with a variety of bonus stats as well, including elemental bonus damage, increased attack power against specific types of enemies, or drop rate bonuses. The drops in the game are extremely plentiful. In fact, a good deal of time was spent after finishing a boss sorting through the inventory that I'd just gotten for upgrades and things to either offer as a sacrifice to the Kodama Shrine for additional Amrita to level up, or to sell to the blacksmith. Now, the blacksmith adds an entirely new level to gear customization, allowing you to re-roll a specific stat, Diablo 3 style, break down equipment into pieces that can be used to forge new gear, or if you have a weapon you really like, although it does get expensive sometimes, you can perform a soul match, taking your favorite level 43 katana and essentially dissolving a level 60 weapon you picked up into it, raising your katana's level and stats. I was a bit disappointed in forging, as I did a ton of side missions and got some seemingly good blueprints, which I would then construct the item from purple components received from disassembling purple items, or trading up the lower level yellow and blue components, just to get a sword that does 1% more damage than what I already had equipped. Then I could step into the next main mission, and the first chest I opened would have an upgrade beyond that. In addition to leveling up, you also find character progression through the weapon skill trees. As you use each weapon type, your efficiency will increase, awarding samurai skill points to put into the weapon of your choice. Now, having the points isn't enough, as nearly all skills are locked behind a main mission completion wall, or forcing you to complete one-on-one matches in the dojo against expert warriors, unlocked by having weapon proficiencies or the appropriate stat leveled. Skills learned from weapons can be equipped in the skill customization menu and are usually part of a combo or in addition to an existing action. Ninja tools and Onmyo magic function similarly, with their main method of gaining skill points coming in the way of consumable locks of hair items, found in chests or given as quest rewards. Once one of those abilities has been opened, you can prepare a specific number of these abilities at once, based on a capacity that increases with leveling up stat points. Then those items can be added to the shortcut menu, assigning 1 to each of the 4 directions on the D-pad, with a switch of R2 to program up to 8 at a time. The final method of character progression is through titles. As you accomplish various challenges and reach proficiency thresholds, you gain reputation points that you can then choose from 4 items at a time, boosting maximum ki or health, money drops, magic power, etc. Now, there is one source of collectibles in Nioh, and that's finding the little green Kodama guys in the wild. Each region has a specific number to be discovered, and as they're collected, they unlock Kodama blessings you can choose from and change at any shrine, granting additional percentages of weapon drops, armor drops, healing elixirs, money, or Amrita. This blessing seemed the most effective way of gaining elixirs, your main consumable healing item in the game, which will let you carry 8 at a time, as they couldn't be purchased from the blacksmith like other consumables. Sometimes the Kodama will give you an elixir upon sacrificing gear, but upping the drop rate by 25% with all 5 of that type of Kodama found made them plentiful. Scattered throughout the levels are bloody graves, where you can summon an angry specter of a fallen human for a chance at some gear upgrades and a currency called glory. You eventually open up a shop where you can spend glory to open various emotes and character models. I personally didn't try any of the PvP or clan battles because I found these specter fights frustrating enough. In fact, overall, I think the inconsistency of staggering an enemy is the one place that Nioh combat falls down. Whether it's a boss or one of these bloody graves, you're looking for openings to land a few hits, and sometimes doing the same move with the enemy having the same level of ki, they'll fall back, giving you a further opening, but sometimes not. Now it could be that millisecond before they start their swing made a difference, but time and time again this bit me. Dark Souls dealt with this some too, but the frustration is magnified with the speed of combat in Nioh. There are also a few occurrences where I got struck through walls by enemy attacks, and a couple of those were pretty critical moments. I did struggle with the camera here and there. Often when something obstructed your view, the game would do a meshed out version of that object, giving a bit of transparency, but several of these battles that occurred on narrow ledges of a cliff, the camera ended up being the bigger foe. Nioh's graphics are beautiful though. This dark vision of 1600s Japan is extremely varied, from its beaches to forests to shrines to graveyards to castles. As I mentioned, the diversity in equipment is awesome, and it's easy to see a lot of work went into the model creation. Characters look amazing in cutscenes, especially when they're not talking, but even then, aren't bad at all. Overall, Nioh's story is functional, but don't expect anything too groundbreaking. There's quite a diverse cast of entertaining characters though, and digging into the histories of the people these characters are loosely based on is actually pretty entertaining. There's quite a bit of content here, including 19 main missions and probably 2 or 3 sub-missions for every one of those. Completionists will be hunting for all the Kodama, and there's even a little bit of endgame content upon finishing the main story, as well as a New Game Plus mode. Nioh's difficulty level is tough but doable, with a couple of issues that feel unfair to the player. There's a number of skills and combat strategies to employ, a decent enemy diversity overall, but not a whole lot of enemy differences between missions, giant creative bosses that unfortunately felt pretty similar mechanically, huge varied environments, well designed with tons of necessary lootbacks and hidden secrets, crazy amount of weapons for every playstyle, and great looking armor sets, and a blacksmith to create and modify those further, even though some options within are a bit of a letdown, but a solid enough drop rate to overlook that. Nioh is a Ninja Gaiden game with some Dark Souls mechanics added, which in the end to me differentiates itself from Software's series. Rated as an action RPG, Nioh hits an 82 out of 100 on a true 1 to 100 scale, with 50 being an average game. This is Jiro from Umbra Games. Thanks for watching. Continuing to pump out weekly reviews, subscribe for notifications, or come find me on Twitter @Umbra Games.